And I'm Tommie!
Frank, could you put Spud on, please?
And I'm Tommie!
This will make sense later on, maybe.
This will make sense if you listen later, yeah. Frank Sidebottom. It's a wonderful name.
Yeah, so that's who we're going to be talking about later. So I was listening to David Ghrol's new audiobook this week, and it didn't get far, and it's very, very good. It's a biography, but it's more like a collection of stories rather than I was born, my mother did this. You know, it's not kind of chronological. But
Who's this?
Dave Ghrol.
Dave Ghrol, this is David Gold. I'm like, didn't he own Birmingham? I'm thinking, what the hell is that? Dave Ghrol, okay, the drummer.
Yeah, the drummer.
Yeah, was he?
Aye, him from Nirvana and that other band that was slightly successful, the Foo Fighters. But he talks about it in Munster. It's good, and I'm into musicians, and Dave Grohl's. How can you not like him? Because he's that documentary where it's warts and all, and he even comes across as a bit of a dick. He still seems like a nice dick. You know what I mean? Like he's all right. But he talks about a magic ritual he did when he was 17 to conjure up his future, and he's pretty convinced that that's what happened. That it was
really,
yeah. So he did a ritual in his garage or his carport. I assume that's a garage, is it? A carport is
carport.
Yeah, that's like that. What Americans call a garage, a car where port. Where
really?
I don't know. I've that's what he says he did it in. So
before. Americans will tell us.
Yeah, and so he kind of has a thing about it that he believes the law of attraction is the thing, but he has the way we talked before about so many of us seem to have this 3-digit number.
Right,
So
yeah.
So he's one, and it's 606. So we incorporate that into the ritual as well. He actually called his recording studio 606. He thinks it's some sort of, rather than later on, he kind of talks about the 606 as being a bit like a compulsive disorder. What's that? Obsessive compulsive, like a slight form of that you're just kind of zoning in it. But he does seem to have this kind of belief that he says, let me have my success with music to the universe, and he says you can, maybe it's just pure coincidence because it feels like everything happened from that.
This is why he murdered Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, that was the price he had to pay. Was then years later. Yeah, shit.
The boon, the blood sacrifice, the boon. Here's Kurt's.
Yeah,
half of Kurt Cobain's head. Here you go.
Yeah, he was using the fixer, obviously.
I like bullshitting people with that theory because I'm like, look, Dave's the only one who got successful. Courtney Love didn't kill him because her career's in the toilet. Like, she was in a couple of films, but like, no one gives a shit. Only Dave done well. He just had to get Kurt out of the way. That was it.
Yeah, I mean,
True.
Yeah. Nirvana was just, it was in his way. That huge success he had with the band, just had to get rid of it. Yeah.
I wonder would it be hard to be in a band with. I'd say, like you see him in some of the. Well, I haven't watched videos in a long time. I'd say the last Foo Fighters video I probably saw was the Best of You one.
All right.
Bison
Pretender one.
hitting each other and all that.
Pretender and
is that
the
one
Riot.
in the empty concert hall? That one?
No,
that is
well,
Best
it's
of You.
and the Riot Police coming at them, and then there's that standard.
It doesn't sound familiar.
No, it's good. Well, you don't like music videos, so none of them are good. If you don't like them,
it's not none of them are good. It's just that I just prefer to watch, prefer to listen. That's all. He seems to just always be showing up in the videos playing drums, and it's like, you're not the drummer anymore, man. Let the drummer be the drummer, will you?
Yeah. Did you see that the documentary where it's them, their whole career, and then them recording one of the albums and all the kind of, like, he does come across as a kind of a cutthroat kind of a dude, like, and has done all of them, and it's like getting your manager to fire people who are meant to be a friend rather than ringing people up yourself, like.
Really?
The first drummer or whatever, he the manager told him, and the bass player had to say, don't come down here anymore, don't come to the studio, play your drums and stuff like this. But like, he shows it, and he's not kind of hiding it or whatever. That's what I mean. He seems like a nice dick. He's like, right, I'm owning this. I did that. Yeah, that's cool.
Not hiding from it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, he has the good guy image, whatever. But to be that level, I'm sure you have to, have made some
Oh yeah, you're going to
choices. That probably
you're
aren't
going to
great.
walk on a lot of toes to be that successful, like, aren't you? That's
Even,
why me and you,
even
Tommie,
joining,
aren't.
yeah. But then, like, even then, like joining Nirvana and throwing Chris Channing, is that his name, the other drummer out, and like that's stepping into other people's shoes, and that in Bloom, is it in Bloom? One of the drum rolls are Chris Channing's. It's exactly the same that he's so.
All right, yeah. He went off and joined the army. That's that guy, isn't it?
Is it
He's like a Navy SEAL or something? Yeah.
Right.
So like, get kicked out of the band that became the most famous in the world. I'm just going to go off and kill lots of people because therapy.
Yeah, it's like Pete Best in the Beatles. He did an awful go of it. He tried to kill himself a load of times. He did not do well after the Beatles. As how could you? But when the anthology came out, he became a millionaire because he's on one song. So just wait 50 years. Yeah, and maybe not a millionaire, but he finally made some money out of the Beatles.
Right.
Or whatever.
And who was the other chap in the Beatles who married? He was into the art.
Stuart
when he went over to Hamburg, didn't he kind of leave the band, or what happened? What's the full story there? I don't remember.
John Lennon beat him up, jumped on his head, and then he died a year later. That's what happened.
Oh,
continuing to the trend of John Lennon not being a particularly nice person. Yeah. That's in his one of the big biographies of John Lennon. It talks about that they're pretty certain that has because he started getting headaches and everything after that, and he died of like some sort of brain thing within a year. But it's kind of not talked about that much.
Jesus, that's harsh.
But
goodbye, because this just ruined everything.
I think he had left at that point anyway because he would go off with the photographer. All those cool black and white Hamburg photographs. That was taken by his girlfriend.
That's the girlfriend.
Astrid, yeah, that was her name. But yeah, I think he'd left at that point, and Paul had started playing bass. Up to that point, but he couldn't play. Like he was like Ricky Manic from the Manic Street Preachers. Like he couldn't actually play.
Aye, just there for the crack. Like he was Bez.
Yeah. Yeah. But
it's
a tragic. I know. Yeah, it's a tragic. Like the whole thing's tragic. And then Brian Epstein killed himself because he was gay and he weren't allowed to be gay and was in love with John Lennon and he couldn't be openly.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So well, I mean, if you believe the things that people say, but that whole song you have to
sick.
No, you have to hide your love away is about him not being able to be open about his homosexuality in the swinging 60s and in the business world and all that. So John,
that's a bit of a prick tease though, isn't it, by the lads to do that?
Yeah,
you can't have me. Na 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 na.
Or you could see it as a sentiment of it must be awful hard for you, and here's a song to we're on your side. I don't know. I know it depends on what way you want to. Or both, what to look at it. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like we've talked about many times, the art versus the artist. Like John Lennon wrote some banging songs. The Beatles are great, but like not a good dude at all. In a lot of ways. No,
George is probably the best one. Ringo seems good crack too.
You can see he's a new album out. He's Ringo. It's strange how he never got one grey hair in his life. Ringo. It's very strange. And he's it's late 70s now or whatever he is, but it's like get all the kids together and a chant, let's change the world. Oh, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, good man, Ringo. Not buying it. I'm just finishing up John Higgs. I finished it up there yesterday, John Higgs' Blake book. I see a couple of people have bought it from us talking about it, which is great. Be nice if we got royalties, but we won't. He names very well, doesn't he?
There's Amazon affiliate links you could do if you really wanted to make 3 cents on every book recommendation. But
it's just an incredible book. It's fucking brilliant, and it has a good ending about kind of like he has a great way of ending it and saying, right, so this is what Blake done. This is what he achieved, yada, 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 yada. Where does he fit in with the world today? And instead of being like, you know who, and just leaking boots.
Check the time.
No, it's too early. It's too early to mention him. Instead of, showing any possible bad sides of him, he does. He says, look, Blake had a terrible attitude towards women. Awful,
Yeah.
But it was the thing at the time, and even though it was changing at the time, he still had it. So we know that, so we can deal with that. And he says some of the other things is wrong because or it seems that he had this thing that, you know, him being a humanist obviously puts humans at the top of the chain, and then animals and nature are below. Whereas that's not really the way things are seen now, even in just like a scientific way, because we're all part of one biosphere kind of thing, you know. And then of course spirituality, we're all one, yada yada yada. And
all that nonsense, all that non-duality nonsense.
All that nonsense, yeah. But he still says like there's still so much to learn from him, because this thing about like it kind of boils down to like, so Blake had these like 4 elements, and if they're in balance, that's how you live a good life. Now it's very, very fucking woo. Really crazy stuff, the mythology, or not the cosmology of it, the way like these had like just Albion was his Adam, and he had these kind of archon type figures from Neoplatonist type thing, but they were like his kind of invention of it as well. But like he still finishes off saying, look, there's a lot we can learn from this fella, like really, 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 really a lot. And yeah, I love that book. It's 3 or 4 weeks now I've been on about it. It's just brilliant.
I'd love to watch a good documentary about him now. But John Higgs, not William Blake. No, I'm talking about William Blake. Yeah, good. I want to read it again because it's one that I enjoyed it, but I probably didn't retain as much of it as I want to retain. You know what I mean? There's definitely, or I'd want to go deeper into his whole kind of his mythology or cosmology or whatever's the correct word for that. Yeah, for the different kind of way he separates everything, and a lot of his work is gone to we'll never see as well, which is sad. But I suppose that's the same with, like, isn't there only 7 Leonardo da Vinci paintings or something that survived?
Oh, God, you're full of joy today, Tommy. What the fucking... Dave Grohl's a wanker.
Did you know Van Gogh shot himself all alone in a field, have never sold a painting? Did you know that story? That's my favourite, for bringing up at parties. Make sure everyone's happy. All alone, having never sold a painting. Yeah. Died of failure. Yeah. Van Gogh, one of the most amazing painters of all time. Yeah. Universe didn't help him. He was following his bliss, you see, and the universe went, you're all right.
What drives someone? I suppose it'll probably come up with the Frank film and documentary talk about there. Like, what is it that? I don't know. Like, if I suppose if you are an artist,
and
you
I
have
can
that
understand
drive,
it.
maybe
It's a compulsion. I don't think you have a choice in it. It's just like, particularly someone who's like, to be fair, he probably had mental issues as well, or mental health issues. Van Gogh, there's that compulsion that you just have to do this and you have to get it out, and there's no kind of, it would keep you awake at night. You're not sleeping until you have done these things, or I can just. Do
you get that? Because I know because you've that
as a choice. Yeah,
you've that new song out, and it's fucking deadly. But obviously, it's not on the album. So like that's something that's come along after. Yeah, is that the same thing? Like just this, right? I have to get this out. This is ready. This is done.
Yeah, I'll tell you. That's an interesting one because that's a good example of it. Sunday, I had no intention of doing anything, and Monday morning, I was like, and I haven't played piano or haven't even switched on the other computer since Ritualis was finished and all that, and. I didn't. All of a sudden, there I am Monday morning going, shite, here it is. Now I have to put off all the other things I wanted to do this week, and then because it just sat down and there it was, and so I recorded it, and I wrote it, recorded it, and did the video and released it, in that last week. So it started Monday and I was out. Yeah. Having Sunday, not even remotely thinking that was. Because remember I was saying to you, because I'd love to do another song, I'd love to set up some time. And I was going, It turned it overheard me and went, oh, really? Okay, we'll do that now.
That's mad. Fucking hell. Because I did watch the video and it's very good, even though I don't like videos, but it was very good.
Thanks very much.
But it's brilliant. It's more it's more post-rocky stuff. You're a big Mogwai fan. You don't even know it. Like
I know, I must check. Although it's like kind of going, maybe I shouldn't, because then I'll just go, they do it better. I'll just let them at it. So.
They have a lot of to do post rock properly. You need there's what is it? It's like it's a bit like a plec for your guitar, but it's this tiny thing that feeds back
a
signal into it.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, Ebo. Yeah.
Ebo. They're amazing.
It's With or Without You. That guitar.
That's what they use with that. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it called Ebo? Maybe I know. I bought one for my brother
There's
years
an
ago.
it's
that's it.
Yeah, an endless sustain is.
Yeah. So like you can't do post rock without that. So you need one of them.
Okay.
Like. So you're gonna have to buy one of them. I think they're only about I know they're dear.
Or about 100 quid, I think, or something like that.
100 now, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not too bad, I suppose.
Yeah, because you can probably get an F-bow or an E-bar or something decent that, that's just get it on eBay from China. Yes, an E-bar for your post-rock.
Yeah, $99, $100. That's not bad at all now. I think I bought, because I bought it for my brother like almost 20 years ago, and it was more.
Yeah, they were quite expensive, 400 or 500 quid at one stage. But
they're deadly, though. They're good crack.
Yeah, I think the idea originally was that it was to try and turn your guitar into it like a violin, that kind of, because a violin, you do the infinite sustain or the infinite bone, so, yeah. But,
and do you get the same stuff with comics or with art or?
Yeah, that's the thing. So it'll be like the Tourette syndrome as well. That just kind of goes right now to do it, but that seems to be working in chunks or whatever. So like when it's like kind of right, you've enough done that. Now you have to do this. And then you have to do that. And then I can already feel the turbine syndrome stuff coming back in because it's starting to be on my mind rather than me trying to, I must get back to that. It's starting to creep in again. So the next stage of that's coming around. But I mean, it's not totally right to say I have no choice in it because obviously you can just go, no, but, watch Netflix or whatever. But it would bug me and I would feel a sense of like guilt or... it's like, I don't know, like you haven't done your homework or something, there's something that you just have to get to it or whatever. But,
Sunday night television is coming on, you're like, fuck.
Yeah, Glenroe. Oh, no.
Glenroe's coming on. No. Damn it, I forgot to do it. I get a little bit of that, like, I don't, what do I put out? I only put out articles. I'll get back to the woodwork soon enough, but like, if I have the thing, what I usually do is I'll have an idea first. And the article never ends up being what I first thought it was going to be. It'll be about the team, the idea. It'll be about that, but it won't be anything like what I had envisioned it was going to be. But I know that like I've only noticed this really recently, and it's that like from the moment I have the idea of what it's going to be until it's out or until it's written, I'm really it's not tense, but it's like I have to get this done. Like everything else has to be put aside. I can't do anything else. This has to come out. Like so. I don't know. I think I'm after catching that kind of from the way
it's good.
Work or something.
Yeah. There's a thing to watch out for though, and I'm sure you're aware of it, that if you talk about it in the middle of that, you can release the energy and it'll end up.
Yeah, stop doing that.
Yes, don't talk about it. And that definitely is a thing. Like if you start talking, it's as if it's already manifest. It's already been spoken into the world or something.
Don't talk about your book. Nobody ever talk about your book. Sit down and start writing it. Because I know I've done it 101 million times. Like actually that reminds me of a deadline this week. Here, I presume you watched the Foolish Fish video. That's been getting a lot of traction. I've seen that shared at a lot of places.
Your Magic is fine, that one, because he's the Jake Stratton kept one since, I think, the Pandemonium, which is equally good. Well, all his videos are good.
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's like, it's like if you like books and you like the occult, I mean, it's literally the channel for you, like, and everything you want to know about each book. But he also then every Saturday does like a theory thing, which isn't about books, it's just him talking about some aspect of magic. And so the last one was kind of explaining his kind of take on chaos magic, which is very good. He certainly knows what he's talking about. But yeah, it seems to be shared. I got around a bit more. Like I see other people talking about it rather than it being shared in the Discord or whatever. It's come up on my Facebook feed a few times. What was it he calls the people? That's a brilliant one. That something of the internet. What was that? What he calls the whiners and
the real mystics of Twitter or something like that.
That's the real mystic of the internet. Yeah, whatever. That's brilliant. So good.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, because but like it's something that kind of came up. Me and you were talking about a couple of weeks ago as well. Like kind of this. What is tradition in magic? You know, like what actually is it? Like, is it something that stopped with the Golden Dawn and Crowley, or is it evolving and like just because, you know, like, okay, this is the book you're supposed to use for the HGA, but like loads of people use the other book and it's wrong and they still got it.
Still
so
works.
like, what's that all about? You know?
Yeah.
You know, because I presume there's a lot of sticklers who hate this Gallery of Magic guy who has his book.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
You know?
Damon Brand.
I don't know a lot about the Gallery of Magic at all. Like.
Yeah. I assume Damon Brand's not his name, and he's just a guy. It sounds like a made up name, which probably means that is actually true. But people just don't like it because it's I know it seemed to be too easy or something, or he just makes it that you know he doesn't hide it, or he doesn't. It's just plain English, and it's plain here. Try this. This is succinct version of it, or. Some of the stuff, though, one of the complaints as well is that he takes an awful lot of things from other sources and doesn't really credit them in the way they should be credited. Like, he takes a lot of the stuff from New Avatar Power. And kind of, he does mention it, but, it's like, it's essentially he rewrote that book and then presented it at his book. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Not quite. That's slightly unfair to him, in fairness, but because I suppose the retort to that is, if New Avatar Power is true, then why can't other people write about it? You know what I mean? If the spirits of that book are true, then, that kind of... But I don't know. I mean, that whole thing of the Abraham Hicks, the channeling thing we've talked about before, where other people started channeling them. And you're kind of, well, if it's a real entity, why not? But, there still is a copyright thing. There still is some sort of official channel, pardon the pun, but that these things have to go through, or there's some sort of intellectual property, and it's I don't know. But I've read a few of his books. The Servato book is really, really good. I've got an awful lot out of that. The Angel one. Did you read the Angel one that I was saying, or did you look
I have it. I came the other day. Yeah, but they flick through it very quickly. It's all sigils and a bit about each one kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there's a sword protection ritual in it, which is like a banishing ritual equivalent, which might work for people. I think it's in that one, I'm not sure. But yeah, I was calling up one of the angels for something, I can't remember what it was. I think it was money, actually, in fairness, at the time, which is one of the harder magics to get working because it relies so much on, not having blocks and an undeserving mind and all that kind of stuff that can take back from it. But it didn't work for me. Whatever I was trying to do at the time didn't work, and it didn't seem to click. But I also knew I was kind of going, I'm not really into angels, and here I am going, hello angels, give me money or whatever it was, and I was just like, really, I think you should probably, if you don't deal with angels, maybe hang around with them for a while before you ask them for something, And that's the thing that people kind of do in magic, I suppose, is kind of see spirits or gods or whatever as like vending machines. Here's your candle. Give me my chocolate bar, please. And, and there's, a lot to be said about, just try and build relationships with these things before you ask. Like if you went up to a mechanic in town, and just hung around with him for a while, and what's the story or whatever, and then your car breaks, you're gonna have a better relationship with the person than if you just turn up. My car broke. Hello, all that stuff, but.
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
wonder.
interested to think what you, or to see what you make of it, because of Damon Brand having it. Like the HGA one is like I would not recommend it to you. There's absolutely no point in you reading it because you're not going to get anything from it. But might have been brilliant for you or me, or whoever. It's not just specific to you. That when you got to that reality transurfing bit where he talks about angels and you were going, what's going on here? That probably would have been, here you go, try that at that point.
Yeah. Because, I remember when I was looking into all that stuff first, I kind of thought, right, there has to be one book which is about all the different sources, which is about the Abrahamic ritual thing that Crowley was doing, or is about the Golden Dawn thing that they might, I don't even know if they do, to be honest. I'm just pulling stuff out of the air here. Is there a collection of different methods of doing it, And there wasn't. There's that book by that, he's an Italian name, Crannon.
Oh yeah, with the really terrible death metal
cover. Yeah. And it's okay, but it's basically kind of half famous occultists who are giving the way that they did it, you know, which is mostly they had been doing the Abraham. It's called Abrahamic, isn't it? Abrahamic one.
Abramelin.
Abramelin. What am I saying? I haven't a fucking clue. Abramelin one. Yeah. And then it's like, I had no idea that what's his name? Marshall Mathers. I'm just Marshall Mathers. Slim Shady. I had no idea that it was such a bad translation, like, you know. And
it was
then,
the bad translation of a bad translation.
And then the new one that came out, it isn't that old. It's only like 10 years old or something, isn't it? Some German dude.
Yeah. Actually, Morgan from Discord bought it for me. He sent it to me. So
right.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet. It's like add it to the pile.
But it's one of those things that's in occultism or magic. There is a lot of this, like, no, this is the way you do it. Why? Because I fucking said so. That's why.
There's a great line or sentiment in Damon Brand's The HGA book where he talks about, like, if the Abramelin is the only way for people to get in contact with their holy guardian angel, then that excludes 99.99% of people that ever existed. And definitely people have had HGA experiences, who never heard of it or been outside that from different cultures or different, backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, to say that there's only one way of doing it, it seems a bit ludicrous in that sense, being that it's an unheard of, pretty much outside of a very small circle. And I suppose like the idea of the guardian angel is pretty much in all religions, isn't it? Pretty much like it's in or angels anyway. Like, but that going back to the Greeks and the daimon or the demon or whatever, that kind of your personal kind of guide. I think it's Socrates one didn't say anything other than occasionally went no. that was kind of how he kind of. If no one says no, then it has to be fine.
Yeah, I remember reading it the first time. For some reason, I just had this image of like a John Cleese type figure in a polar hat, just going, no!
No! Yeah.
Monty Python type of thing, no! Doing a funny walk then.
But like, here's the thing, the Alan Chapman one, the most simple one I can send to the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, has worked for so many people. Like, it worked for you, it worked for Nuggin, it worked like just out of... And numerous other people that have mentioned it, that name escapes me. But like, why wouldn't that work? That's like, I mean, that's the centering prayer version of it, I would say, the Thomas Keaton kind of. So is it intentional? Is that it? Like, I assume that the angel is kind of waiting for you to, just go, hello, I'm here. If you're looking for me. Like.
His name escapes me now. There's a chap who's good on Celtic lore. So I know what he looks like. He looks a bit like Santa Claus. He's long, kind of white hair and a white beard. He lives in America now, but he's a Scottish fella. He has a thing about it is. It's there and it's waiting, but there is something that kind of has to be done to unlock it. Kind of in a similar way to like what. Jeez, they come up every fucking week. Parmy and Empty were doing, going incubation, going into a cave, and you have to. There's some darkness that has to be faced first.
Okay,
that's the step, and then once that is, according to him, once that is either acknowledged or overcome, then that's when she or it or he is ready, because that's when you have shown it right. I know now.
Yeah.
There's something that seems to need unlocking, Now, I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue what mine was, because I know they've done Q&A stuff with you, and people have asked me stuff privately as well. Like, what was like? What, you always want to know why it was so fast, and like, I think there is. I think this element is true, that there is there's this barrier that you have to get over. There's some blockage or something. And once that's done, then you're ripe and it can be done. But like, I'd love to know what that was for me, because I don't know. Maybe it was the therapy. Maybe it was just fucking the high of after having the second kid, or I don't know.
Yeah, I would. And this is just pure speculation on my part, but I definitely noticed a change in you as a person from your therapy. Without getting into too many details about like from the certain. How am I going to say any of this without? just interactions online that I noticed between people. That there seemed to be a case of that you just changed, and I, in hindsight, realized that was because you were doing the therapy stuff. So I would say that was a big kind of thing for you, and like in my kind of thing, I suppose why it in one sense took too long for me was because I had to do that kind of stuff as well or whatever. But there was also a lack of an allowance in me in, that thing I said before, like, who am I to have these kind of experiences, whatever. So it was like you having those experiences allowed me to have those experiences, or allowed me to believe the experiences I was having, if that makes, it's like kind of go, oh no, well, this is, this is allowable.
This makes sense. Yeah.
But
I'd hate to be like, I mean, sort of the thing that was he's pointing at in the foolish fish videos. Like, I'd hate for it to be a gatekeepy thing. Like anyone asks me, I'm just like, right, this is what I done, this is what happened. Yeah. Just try it, And I always just send them to the Alan Chapman thing anyway. That's what it was. But like, I think there is that blockage barrier first. There's something there that like you have to face. Maybe it's the worst of yourself or something like that. Like, because I know I had to in my therapy, and you realise,
I suppose it's the following the silent knowing in the Magick terms of it, or whatever, or that inner voice, or all of those different names for that thing. It's my kind of what I've discovered is that it's that I already know what the truth is, but it's allowing myself to believe it, or to, it's like the world is telling you all of this, and you have this kind of inner thing that's going, no, it's fine, or whatever it is. It's no, it's fear, and then it's trusting that thing where you go, no, I actually have got to the point where I'm okay with that, that sense of truth within me is actually true, rather than, again, it's that, but that all comes from my bit was like, because I had given authority to, external, and so it was bringing that back, and once I had brought it back in, then, Angel went, hello, I've been trying to get your attention for a while.
So that's it. That's the blockage then that was there, No, it's a mad thing, like, but it's obviously there's a lot of navel gazing involved in it, because I think it's that, right? You have to look at what is where's the root of the, say, badness, or where's the root of the problem.
Not badness, the problem.
Not badness, but
or the role.
You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, the complex, or all of these.
Yeah. The complex would be a better way of saying it. Yeah, because like often you think it's like, it's like, let's give you an example maybe. So like when someone will say, Jesus, people, I hate people. It's like, maybe look at that. Maybe you don't hate people, you just hate yourself. You don't like yourself. You learn to like yourself a bit. That's just an example.
Or not even that you hate yourself or hate people. It's that you hate the feeling you get around people. That like because it's been something I would have said, but it's I hate crowds, and I hate so it's because I feel overwhelmed. So it's not that I hate crowds; it's I hate feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's that. If you've given, say, in my case, authority to external sources, whatever, you will hate people because they have the authority and you don't agree with them, and it's upsetting you and all of that kind of stuff. So again, it's without going, because I'm not really a huge fan of, that whole notion of the thing that you hate about someone else is actually the thing you hate about you, because I don't think that's true, and it's not actually what Carl Jung said either. It's that it's like when it notice why you're annoyed at this, and it can reveal something about yourself. Not that. If you see someone angry, it's really you who's angry. That's just COD psychology, It's,
No, I 100% agree with you there. Yeah. No, I mean, you project onto them. I believe that you do project onto other people what's inside yourself, but oftentimes you don't know what you're actually projecting onto them, kind of way as well,
Yeah. And I remember my therapist.
You think it's anger, but like it might be something complete. It might be jealousy. You've understood it wrong.
Yeah. I remember therapist pointing out that, because I was kind of under this notion that because you're saying you're projecting, and I was going, no, that's actually happening though. And he goes, no, the projection doesn't mean it's not happening. They probably are doing that, but it's the thing that's clicking in you, because other people do things that are equally as annoying, and they're not annoying you. Why is that? It's not that, because I thought projecting, I was going, say you're jealous or whatever, and you're projecting on your wife that, they're always talking to other men or whatever, but they're not really. I thought that's really what but it wasn't. It can be, obviously, but it could be that the trait that your best friend does something. I find that really annoying, but why? Why?
Of course,
It's but it's not.
But
So you're projecting onto him, but it is happening. He is doing that. Yeah.
And then there's obviously there's all the years of bias that you have with, wives, mothers, fathers, siblings, all that stuff. Whereas like you don't have that with friends you've just met. Like this morning, right? We were out at the horse riding place, and your man's getting ready. I'm just there playing with one of the horses, and next thing this woman comes over and starts speaking in English to me.
All right.
And she's like, she basically just said, yeah, look, I'm coming here, the daughter's coming here, he told me that you're Irish, I live in England, yada, yada, yada. And then like she just said, yeah, my husband doesn't want to move over here, he lives in England, he wouldn't like to live here. And I'm like, I know tons about you already, and I don't even know your name. Isn't that mad? That people are like, strangers are so fucking open to each other, and they'll tell you like private. That's pretty private information, like saying, yeah, my husband won't move here. Instead of saying that like, oh, we have good jobs or we like it in England or whatever. It was like straight away, he won't move here. I was like, okay. Yeah. I see what's happening here. It's odd, I just thought that was, it is odd, but it's fucking brilliant. It's great. I really like it,
But I suppose that's one of the reasons why fortune tellers, the fake ones, let's say, are so good at cold reading and stuff and understanding, because people give out so much information that they probably don't realise that they're giving out. But that's not to say all fortune tellers are fake. I don't think so. I think there is something that people can. The one I went to was very impressive. So I don't know, like impressive in the sense of if she was fake, that's really impressive how she did news stuff about me not knowing that I was coming, or impressive because she she literally could see dead people around me, whatever it was. I'm impressed in both ways.
I think I'd go to one now, but. Well, I don't know, would I though? Because I'm kind of happy not knowing the future, because I'd be petrified if something's going to go wrong or something. I don't want. Yeah. I'd rather not know. I'd rather deal with it when it happens, kind of thing. And like, I remember I went to one years ago in a pub. They do this thing. It's called Anjaki. It's St. Andrew's Day, but it's like their Halloween. Basically, they put wax in through a keyhole into water and. That tells your future and all, and they do this thing. It's a lot of Polish traditions have to do with like which loser daughter is going to get married. They'll stand at the back of the room and they'll each like. They take their shoes off, and they kind of walk with the shoes up to the front door from the furthest wall, and whichever one gets there last will marry last or marry first. Right. It's all got to do with anyway.
Is this a way of measuring shoe size or like a foot fetish thing that's going on? Or
what the hell? But like the church has no problem with that tradition, but they hate Halloween. Like, I just hate Halloween over here, so they go nuts about it. But St. Andrew's Day is totally fine, even though it's exactly the same thing, more or less. So she went to one, and he's like, I think he told her like to leave me or something because he's a foreigner. I was angry. So
probably was good advice in fairness, though.
I was so angry. I think we got the night bus home, and I think I got off the bus early and walked home. I was so annoyed. So I was, because she was just laughing at it, going, "It was the big joke." But I was like, I'm gonna burn his fucking house down. Who's this fucker? Fucking racist prick, That's a long time ago, though. Jesus.
God. Angus look and go, hold on, maybe he's on to something. Look at this lunatic I'm with. Foreigners, huh?
Oh, good times. I don't know if I could. Yeah, I don't know if actually I would go to one, because I kind of like just living in the moment as much as I can and not thinking about. I don't know, because like imagine if you go and they're like, yeah, you're going to be rich. When? I could do with it now, and it's you're going to have health problems. Oh, great, nice one. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Now. I'm going to get worse. Because your one told me I was going to something about, because I was trying to, whatever. So I was probably big into doing comics at the time, and she told me that wouldn't work out for me, and that I was going to end up working with kids or something like that, and I got very depressed about that. And it kind of had to... not that I had to work with, but it was more that, all right, so my life isn't going to work out the way I wanted to. And it kind of deflated me and stuff like that. And I was kind of going, yeah. And ultimately, it wasn't true anyway. Because I ended up doing comics and stuff. And I'm not working with kids.
You do live in a kindergarten, though.
Yeah, but I'm not working with kids. I'm in a big metal container, tank that no one can come into. It doesn't matter anyway. Like even if it turned out I was working with kids, whatever it was, or it was true. It's just that it was giving that authority external, that she can know something about my life, and now this has to be true because the woman said it, who can talk to dead people. And it was and it was all part of that kind of pattern and stuff like that. But it did. Yeah. So I mean, if I would have to be very aware that if I go to a fortune teller and they tell me something, that there's a huge part of me that just outright will believe it, even if it's ludicrous, that, and will still pray it in the back of my mind, and it'll be like, so I'll leave it alone. But I mean, I do divination most days anyway, but it's not on. Exactly, yeah. It's not on big things.
You brought back a memory there. I had a I wouldn't call her a girlfriend, a relationship. God, many years ago, and she was mad into tarot and stuff. And at the time, Mr. fucking materialist, rationalist, fucking atheist here. But because she was so incredibly hot, I was like, yeah, all right, yeah, okay. And she said, it was only a month or two we were together, or whatever. And she said, she started telling me all about the Rider-Waite deck, WB Yates, Golden Dawn. We went up to the Hellfire place. Oh yeah, Hellfire. They had something to do with that or something like that. And she kept pestering me to do the tarot reading for me. I was like, okay, do one. And no. She says, right, but we're gonna do like the biggest one. This is gonna be like your whole life story. It's proper full on future. This is gonna be. And the next day she broke up with me, and that was it.
All right, yeah, she was really good at reading the cards.
She did the reading and went, no.
And what came up? Can you remember what came up? Or whatever?
No, she didn't tell me, nothing.
All right, she wouldn't tell you. All right, that's brilliant. That is an amazing way to break up with someone. I'm really impressed with that. That's a great move. What a power move. Excellent. Yeah, just a giant nope for you, Spud.
A giant nope. It was actually, I'm like, well, I ended up all right, didn't I? I mean, I don't know. Well, this is going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've forgotten about that.
This guy starts talking to angels and gods, and the goddess arrives, and he just won't stop. Hold on, I'm going to mention his name. Kingsley. He won't stop mentioning Kingsley. Oh, I couldn't live with
43 minutes. 43 minutes. That's not too bad. That's the longest. We're weaning off him. Weaning off him. He won't be mentioned many more times.
Did you finish Reality? Yes, or how you
you know what? I had 20 pages to do it last night, and I came home too drunk, and I said no, I won't read it drunk because I won't remember. So no, I'll finish it tonight. There, it's it's quite good. I'm not into the whole I don't buy the Aphrodite stuff. It just doesn't speak to me.
The strife and the
no, I get the strife. I get that. I don't. And I think it's just because my knowledge of Aphrodite is, no, that's not what she is. You get me?
Right, okay.
Whereas, he would say, well, that's what theirs was. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. But, that's only what theirs was in, an outport of Greece. It wasn't what most of the Greeks thought of her. Yeah. But, I like the way that he has, he traces it from Parmy to Empty to the next fellow who was the arms smuggler. I like that. Fucking Roger Casement. And and then to the first sophist, Gregorius, was that his name? That's cool. Yeah, that's an interesting way that he links that up. I'd never ever heard that before. That means that your man wasn't a sophist. He was in this golden line or whatever, golden thread or whatever the fuck you call it. Yeah, I thought that's really interesting.
You might enjoy a story waiting to pierce you, because it's more of that kind of type of stuff.
Do you know what, man? I need to read some fucking fiction. I need a break from this fella. I really do. I need a break. I downloaded a load of what do you call it? What's his name? Dick. robots sleep, cheese. That's robots.
Philip
The
K.
robots dream of cheese. I was going to say, do robots dream of cheese? I wonder. Sheep. Yeah. Philip K. Dick. I've downloaded loads of his. And I need fiction. I bloody need fiction. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah. So of all people to pick, Philip K. Dick. That'll wrack your head.
There's no point in picking something easy. Jesus Christ, I'm not going to read Celia Hearn or anything like that. Chick lit. Imagine me reading Chick lit. Imagine how annoyed you'd get reading Chick lit.
Every 23 minutes brings up Maeve Binchy's name. Just like the Lilac Bus. It's such a metaphor for our entire life.
Well, the Yanks can't eat this. They probably don't have a clue who she is, do they? Don't look her up. Look her up. She's this lovely twee old woman who writes these romantic books that your mother or grandmother might like. They'll give you the twee Ireland, everyone with flat caps. Oh, top of the morning to you.
yeah. If you're looking for that, then that's it. That's exactly what you're looking for. Will we Frank it up? Yeah.
Frank it up.
Do you want to intro this, seeing as this is your recommendation?
So there's so Frank.
How do you start?
The Yanks want to know who Frank Sidebottom is. All right, so take a moment, Google Frank Sidebottom, and you'll see a man in a suit with a fucking giant paper mache head with huge eyes and huge lips, and he's Frank Sidebottom, and he talks like this. He's from Manchester.
I say he looks a bit like a kind of a weird Betty Boop or Betty Boo, whatever that character. The big head with the big eyes, but yeah. And I don't know. There's something about him that kind of he feels like he's always been a bit. There's something very unreal about it. But I think that might be just that it's seeped in from just countless years of him being on TV and stuff. Rather than so, it'll be interesting to see if did he appear in he did one night, literally one night in America, isn't it? That he one gig,
one gig in America.
Yeah, he flew over
to be able to say
gig
it
and flew home. Yeah.
I'm looking up the name of the first film here. There's loads of good actors in it.
So we watched two. We watched a documentary and we watched a film, a movie. The documentary is from 2014. Is it? Or is it the other way? And one's from the documentary is from 2018 and the film is from 2014. And the film is based on a journalistic piece, I suppose an extended essay by John Ronson. John Ronson of The Men Who Stare at Goats fame and So You've Been Publicly Shamed,
So You've Been Publicly Shamed.
Dem, which is a great book, and a number of shows. He did years ago. He did a show on Channel 4, which was kind of the more arty, I suppose, channel that we had access to over here.
There's still a podcast. There's still his old podcast is still available.
And for the love of, they're all on YouTube anyway. His for the love of, it's called, and you're taking people. And he's brilliant. And like if you like John Higgs, after us telling you about him, like you'll really fucking like John Ronson. He's brilliant. John Ronson is the master. Like him, I suppose the three is John Higgs, John Ronson, and Louis Theroux. I mean, that they're this type of gonzo type stuff. Although John Higgs, I wouldn't necessarily say it's gonzo type stuff, but Ronson definitely is. But
for sure,
Theroux is true. So he's a kind of a brief cameo part in Frank's life, John Ronson. But the movie that they made of it is pretty much a totally made up version of John Ronson's period in the band.
Exactly, it's based on John Ronson's period, but different than what actually went down during Frank's time. But completely, I like the way they done it though.
Yeah, like as a film, it's fine, but it's just nothing to do with Frank at all.
Yeah, no, it's not very much to do with Frank at all. But it starts off with Donald Gleeson. He plays this kind of John Ronson.
He's called John on it too.
Yeah, and he plays this. He's kind of a mix between John Ronson and who Frank was, Paul Sheevy. Isn't that his name?
Chris
Sheevy. So, because he's this kind of, he comes across as this he's a musician with lots of ideas who can't kind of get them across, but he's very artistic. So he's kind of a mix, but that's what Sheevy was, right? But he's standing there and he sees this gig poster, and he starts tweeting nonsense to his 14 followers or whatever. And then he sees that there's this man drowning, and he goes down to look, and the cops are trying to get him out. And then he looks over to his left, and there's a band van, and they're all just standing there, and they're going, "Fuck, we have a gig tonight." Sorry, he says, "Oh, you guys are playing tonight." And he's like, "Well, it doesn't look like it. That's our keyboard player. He's trying to kill himself." And then your man's like, "Well, I play keyboards." All right. Yeah, the next day he gets a phone call or something. You're in the band or whatever. So he comes along, and he didn't know that Frank wears this big thing on his head, and he's on stage getting his keyboard set up, and next thing Frank comes in and does this like amazing impression. It's like a Jinx Lennon thing. It's just madness. It's just madness. It's not. It is music technically, I suppose, but it's also performance art, crazy stuff. And then the film just goes on from there. Like they're going to record an album, and they're really crazy about the album. Like they have to. There's shots of them out in the forest, just like rubbing pine cones together and just ridiculous stuff like that.
Not that you know until the end, but it's Michael Fassbender who plays
Michael Fassbender. Yeah.
It was originally written for Johnny Depp, and in places you can see kind of where Michael Fassbender kind of doing a kind of a Johnny Depp. I found it, and not all the way. The one complaint I do have about the film is that they kind of basically say that he was mentally ill. And that, I think that's unfair to Frank. While he had mental health challenges, of course, I don't think that's fair. And, you know, it kind of, if your only experience of Frank is going to be through this film, that's kind of what you're going to take away from it. But a good film. But it's just, again, having watched the documentary, I go, it's literally nothing at all, other than, you know, kind of a couple of things from John Ronson's life that... you know, the debate.
Like it's fun and it's funny. It's also sad.
It's very funny.
Well.
The opening scene is great where he's walking in the street and he goes, "A woman with a red handbag," just singing away exactly what he sees in front of him.
I think I wrote that down. Well, what did it go like? Singing in his head, "Lady in the red coat with the mad bag, lady in the purple coat. Do you know the lady in the red coat?" Yeah.
Very funny.
Just like Jinx Lennon could totally make that into a song. He totally could.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like a Jinx Lennon song. Probably is.
Jinx Lennon. Yeah, that is true. Interestingly enough, John Ronson appears for about 15 seconds in the documentary, which he's only interviewed. He only says one thing that I can remember.
There's two. There's two bits. There's two bits. He says, "Yeah, there is only two." Yeah.
The documentary is really good, and I have to give it a huge round of applause for the talking head bits are really well shot. They're more interesting than just talking heads. It's you know, there's some mad angles, there's people standing in cool sets, or some guy in a dressing gown for some reason. There's you know, it's not just your standard head and shoulders. Someone talking about Frank or whoever it is they're talking about, but it goes back. He literally wanted to be the rock star. He wanted to be this guy, and he's quite talented by all accounts. He had some good songs, real pop songs. People liked them. Anyone who heard the band or whatever going, "Why aren't you hugely famous?" or whatever. And just the universe, while he followed his bliss, conspired against him to just not help him out in any ways. He was booked to be on Top of the Pops, and then there was a strike, so he didn't go on. And then the next week, they said, "Well, your single's going down, so you're not getting on it this week." And, you know, every time he had about to make a good, you know, have a break, the universe just pissed on him and said, "No, not for you. We've other ideas for you." But
did you look up the band? I've been listening to them a bit. The Freshies, they're called.
No, it's interesting that Chris Evans was their driver. I thought that was really funny. The DJ.
Chris Evans. Who else was on it? Mark Radcliffe. You'll know him if you listen to BBC Radio.
Yeah.
Bronson. That's it, isn't it? Anyone? There was other famous people connected. I think that was it.
Well, John Ronson talks about the one time they did a gig with this guy who had his big song was I don't have any chickens, but I have 5 wooden steps, and that was the song and whatever. But he felt like he like they drove him home into this apartment block, this rundown thing, and he had everything, all his everything he owned in this bag. And when he got out of the van, it just dropped, And John goes, it just felt like his entire world ended. And I went, see ya, and just drove round. But it turns out he wrote a song for Kylie Minogue and became quite successful as well, even that guy. Yeah.
Good lad. The Freshies, they're a bit like, they'd remind you of a bit like Stiff Little Fingers. Poppy, punky, and he kind of sings in that kind of Fergal Sharkey kind of.
Who's that band? Ever fall in love with someone? Ever fallen in love? That reminds me of them.
Is that Stiff Little Fingers? That might be Stiff Little Fingers. I don't think it is. I
can't remember. Right? Okay. Well, whoever that's who it reminded me of.
Is that the Undertones? Is the Undertones? That's what I was thinking as well. One of the
Fergal Sharkey.
There's a Northern Irish punky pop band. They sound like that. They sound like really early, like Blink-182 at times. This really
that kind of poppy
punky. Yeah. That was obviously he was doing it years and years and years before it became a thing, and like they're decent enough. Like they're okay. Like I don't think they were saying
that's what I was thinking.
Buzzcocks, right? Yeah. So they were saying in the documentary that like they definitely should have been famous. They should have been da. I was like, I wouldn't go that far. Like they were good. Like.
Yeah, his big single was I'm in love with the girl at the Virgin Megastore counter or something like that. And then they wouldn't play it because it said Virgin Megastore in it. So he says, I'm in love with the girl in the nondescript counter of some music shop in town or something like that. So just re-recorded the vocal and released it again.
Yeah, they re-recorded it. They ruined the guitars. I had to do the guitars again. And then something went wrong and they had to do it all over again. And then there was a strike in the BBC. And then when they came back a week later, it's no, your song is number 52 now. We don't need you. And it's like, Jesus.
And his home life was mad. Like he had 2 kids and he was, like never pay any bills. He always was buying like video cameras, but the wife seems to genuinely have been kind of all right with the whole thing. Like she sent a bit of fun. She was always crazy at home, and he was one of these people. He was big into DIY. He wouldn't wait around for other people to do things for him. Like he wasn't waiting to be discovered. He was always right. I want to do a video, so I'm going to do the video because that's how it'll get done. Or he wouldn't. If he wanted to get into animation, he got into it. He wasn't waiting around, and he did a brilliant idea, which I thought was fantastic. He went to pay his phone bill, and instead of paying his phone bill, he bought a computer.
Yeah.
And he says it was fine because they cut off my phone, and it was 3 months I was able to learn how to use this computer.
So brilliant, isn't it?
What he did is, on the A side of his single, he had the normal song, and on the B side, he put in computer, like the old years ago when you had like the Commodore 64 and you had the tape and it made all the weird noises to program, tell the computer what it was. So that was what was on the B side. And if you loaded that into your computer, you got the music video for the song.
Genius.
Genius.
Fucking
absolutely.
Genius.
Yeah.
What a brilliant idea, like.
Yeah.
I don't wonder, like, if the reason, maybe the reason it didn't take off is just people didn't have fucking computers then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hardly anyone had home computers in the 80s. It wasn't until the 90s people started getting them, But, like, what a fucking brilliant idea to do that. And he was full of that stuff. I thought that then the Franks stuff came along, and he had this idea for this weird character, John Smith at first. And he was going to be... John Smith was this crazy obsessive fan of the Freshies.
Yeah, the biggest fan ever.
They even made some skit videos where he's like a stalker, like, and your man Paul has to like punch him and stuff. Get away from me, you're weird. We don't like you. Go off, go back to your mother's house, leave us alone, kind of thing. And so they turned it into this kind of comedy thing, which I thought was really just interesting, because if you know the story how Billy Connolly became a comedian. He was in a band with what's his name, Baker Street. That's the Baker. What's his name?
I know you're
on my tongue. Doesn't matter. And so during the warm ups, he would do
Jerry Rafferty.
He would do Jerry Rafferty. Yeah, he would do just comedy stuff. Talk to the crowd, get the crack going, and it's a bit like this, like. And
yeah. It started just the bits between the songs got longer and longer with Billy Connolly, and then it was more talking and telling jokes with the odd song. But the genius bit where it all kind of either came together or fell apart was when Little Frank came on the scene. So picture a guy in a huge head with a dummy. Why can I not say that? Say that word for me.
Ventriloquist.
Ventriloquist. Dummy. The best ventriloquism you'll ever see, because neither of them mouths moved ever. Because and little Frank didn't like Big Frank, and it started. People started saying at this time they were going like, Frank seems to be an actual person now, and like he was getting jealous of little Frank, and sometimes he'd show up to gigs and people go, "Where's little Frank?" "No, he's not coming. Oh, he's not coming to this gig."
He's not allowed.
He's not allowed.
Then little Frank got a girlfriend, and the story with the head. Oh, jeez, I was crying laughing at. He's in a pub doing a gig in front of fuck all people. Look, you don't see the crowd shot, but it sounds like about 20 people, 30 people kind of thing. And someone shouts up. So little Frank has a girlfriend called Denise. He brings out Denise, and someone shouts up, "Where's her head?" And he says, he's like, "No, look, I have a story for that, but we'll be here all night. You don't want to hear it." "We want to hear it." "Okay, well, look, I was down playing with the cricketers. I'm playing a gig for the cricketers down in London, and they're bastards. And they stole her head, and basically, cut a long story short, he's like, they're boycotting me now. They have it as a ransom. They said they want to be on my next album cover, and then they'll give the head back." And I'm like, "No, I don't want it. No, you're not being on my album because I'm an artist." It's
yeah,
fucking genius. Like he was so good at improvising. Brilliant,
yeah, so
absolutely
good,
brilliant.
And
top of his head.
His actual act was doing terrible covers of songs like Joy Division and with really bad keyboard sounds or whatever.
The Love Will Tear Us Apart, but like in a polka version,
Yeah. Brilliant. Like the kind of, like the standard kind of backing tracks that are on all keyboards. That's what every song was. Love will tear us apart again.
It's a weird thing because it's like how much of a cultural thing is this? Because Aga's watching this and she's pissing herself laughing, but she also said as well like they don't have anything like this in their musical culture of this kind of joke.
Yeah, the joke guy, the prankster.
But also as well the from the film version, the Frank, of this kind of like a Jinx Lennon type. This kind of tortured artist who is all about the art of the music rather than it being commercially successful kind of thing. Like that's everywhere. But but this thing of this just bonkers funny guy who's like just he's pretending he's not in on the joke, but he's totally 100% in on the joke. In on it,
But it's the why there's kind of a sadness to this, I suppose, and it does get a bit more sad, is that there's no, in one sense, it's such a marginal thing where, it is 20 people, but the most diehard 20 people who are at the gigs, you know what I mean? It's like, but it's like, where does someone with that, like, obvious talent, obvious just intelligence and so smart, so funny and so all of that, I'm just like, where does that person fit, I mean, he had to essentially create a character in order, I suppose, to find a place in the world. And even then, it's just, it's so strange. And
even the stuff with the football team. he entered the football team into Brilliant. He entered a football team into like one of the local Manchester leagues. Like, obviously not a professional thing, but like in England, Sunday football is a big thing. Like, so they're in like the fourth or fifth level of this thing, and he just says, he just put out a notice or something. Anyone who wants to play football with Frank, come along this Sunday. He had shirts for them. He had a program. He had made a program. Like, a program is I don't know if they have them in America. It's like when you go into a football match, you can buy a magazine and it's about the match, right?
Yeah, you used to be able to do it at gigs as well, but they don't seem to do that anymore.
And he had written like manager notes, team sheets, who they were playing against. He had the attendance of the last match was 2 men. Was it 3 men, 2 dogs, and 1 puppy? He had drawn them in a little corner. It's just this batshit crazy.
He finally went on and played the game, and he nearly scored. Because he couldn't see. But he was a genius as well in that when he was back trying to be an actual rock star, it was a great story in that they ended up in some sort of promoter of a record company's office, and he stole a load of the letterheaded paper. And then he sent it to everyone who was famous in the kind of music industry and said, oh, there's a secret meeting at this place. And what a brilliant idea. And got everyone, like he sent it to Elton John, he sent it to and they were saying that limo started pulling up on the night and there was a load of people. And his intention was, well, I was just going to show them a home video I'd made. But by the time I got there, they hadn't a video that would play it. So I just sent everyone home. The greatest kind of promotion ever. I did my Betamax and it was a VHS player. Just like, because you can see that the brain, like, working all that out, like, and then just not, just saying, I just go home. It's like,
we missed a bit. It starts off with him and his brother had been in a band, and they were writing songs like very Beatley type songs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Beatles are the greatest band ever, according to Frank. Yeah. There's no other bands.
They play a couple of them, and they're very John Lennon-y or Beatlesy, and the two of them kind of trained down to London with the guitars and walked into Apple office and says, "Yeah, we're not leaving until you sign us."
Yeah.
All right, yeah, fine, yeah. So an hour goes, 2 hours, 4 hours. They're still there in the evening. Eventually, someone comes down and. So, all right, then go and play a song. Play a song, and he's like, "Yeah, I like that. Can you come back in a week?" And so they came back in a week. They recorded 11 songs in the Beatles fucking studio. Two lads in like secondary school who were just chancing their arms, and they said, "Yeah, look, this is really good. If you get a band together, we'll think about it." And then the band fucking broke up.
Yeah.
Again, what the fuck, like?
Yeah.
It's mad.
He used to send out his tapes and include a rejection letter with the tape. You just have to send this back to me. It's fine. I've already written it for you.
He starts doing well then, and he gets he gets his own. He started getting on like local like Manchester cable telly and stuff like that. But it just led to, slowly and surely he eventually ended up with a national. Proper television show. I think that's where I knew him from first.
People. So
interviewing
with the weirdest questions.
Yeah.
And you can see an awful lot where Avid Marion, the your man, what's his name? I can never remember his real name, but he's hold on. Well, my point is that he takes an awful lot from him. That kind of interview. Marion, Keith Lemon. What's his real name?
Oh, yeah.
Lee Francis. So Lee Francis kind of has, I would say, having watched this documentary, and I love Lee Francis, I think he's a genius, but has the same kind of insane kind of interview style where, you have a very serious kind of setup. And I suppose even Ali G did the same type of thing where it was, a character interviewing ostensibly a very serious person, but he's like, "Oh, what did you have for breakfast?" And what's your favorite color?
What did he ask? What's your man? Who is he in, Genesis or something, or some big prog band that he's getting interviewed in this tiny. This is before the national show. This is the local one, and he's like, "Have you ever been on an airplane?" Your man's been in a touring band for like 20 years. He's seen all the world. He's like, yeah, once or twice. He's like, what the fuck is going on?
In the middle of an interview, he goes, "I'm going to have a shower." He goes and has a shower with the mask on. With the
genius. Yeah. But then the bad stuff starts. But like so the national thing is pretty successful, and he's interviewing like late 80s, early 90s kind of celebrities, like comedians and singers and all that kind of stuff. They're your normal chat show type of thing, except a lot of hijinks going on. Like he got a woman up to go bobbing for money in a fish tank, and he just takes her head and just smashes it into the water like it's a fucking old Betty, like she ancient. But then drink took over. He always drank a lot, and
cocaine,
coke.
And Mike, see, it's like when his wife is saying, like, when you have that level of success with that type of personality, that kind of obsessive thing, it's not going to go well. And it seems a real kind of love and still kind of between the wife and her, even though like he arrives one day and says, "We're getting a divorce," and when it does come through, he goes, "Do you want to go celebrate this divorce?" And she's like, "No." And the kids still seem to really like him. There's one story where the kid goes, Chris at this point is going like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And he goes, "All I want is you. I just want you." And they just kept repeating that. And then he wraps himself in Christmas paper or in wrapping paper or whatever, apart from a cigarette. And he's there on Christmas morning. Like, brilliant genius. You know.
Yeah, just great crack. I love that I love that bit about him. You know, I was watching this and I was kind of comparing it to KLF and not Cotty, the other one, Jimmy. What's his name? Tell me.
Bill Drummond,
yeah. And just like, and you can see the kind of, even though they're both obviously artists and bonkers, but the different way of doing things. I think that with say Drummond loves the chaos of creating something, creating the art and finding the madness in it, and kind of what's the phrase I'm looking for? Kind of treading the line between chaos and madness, you know?
Yeah.
Or sorry, between chaos and normality, and being on that line for as long as possible on the journey. That's the way I see Drummond anyway. Whereas this fella is quite different with his art. He's in the chaos and knows he's in it and presenting it, but all the time it's a tongue-in-cheek thing, you know? And that we know it's not like, say, Mr. Blobby, right? Because that's just stupid pantomime
at all.
But this is just like, there's a lot of planning and thought has gone into every single thing in it, you know. So I just put the two of them together and thought, it's funny the way that like you can have these, you know, artists on the fringes and they're doing it in different ways. So
that's why it's so unique and so good, because it's someone could very easily do something very similar and just not get it because it would just be absurdism or, you know, crazy for crazy's sake. And the whole, you know, like the reason Monty Python is like surreal, right? But there's a rules to it, or you know, there's an intelligence to it. It's not just madness for the sake of madness. It's not
of course.
You know, it's not just someone hitting someone with a fish. There's just more than that, you know. Like, although someone getting hit with a fish is quite funny. Which is the same as like if you just get up and do silly songs, or whatever, and a lot of comedians do that kind of stuff, and it's just kind of, you know, while it can be all right, like, but there's something more. Like, there's definitely a kind of a genius level to this type of stuff that, you know, some people have, and to imitate it, I don't think works. I don't, you kind of have this or not, but so I think at one stage he kind of retired, Frank, or he kind of. He's in a bad way. He owes 35 grand to the tax. He just decided he was never going to pay tax.
Tax is bloody fantastic.
He says to the judge, says, "Oh, we'll have to work out some sort of payback, you know, some payment scheme." And he goes, "What about £1 a week?" No.
Yeah, it's class. I think the drink it it comes out from like through his friends that like he was. Well, the drinking was kind of obviously a manifestation of like his unhappiness that like he had found, you can't really call success or notoriety with Frank, and he'd never gotten it with the band, you know, or with his proper music as he saw it, you know. And turns out that like that really upset him, you know. And so then he retired, Frank, and just says, "No, I'm not doing it anymore," because he wanted to do his own stuff. But the only thing is that no one wanted to know him when he wasn't Frank. So then he started getting better, sorted himself out, wasn't drinking as much. He'd fall off the wagon every now and again, but he seemed to have it fairly under control. And he came back then with this 5-year plan that he was going to do like loads of stuff with Frank, and it would be a success. And like, you're hoping the best for me, you know, because like he's starting off at the bottom. He was doing like kids parties and stuff, you know, the bottom. And then he had this brilliant idea with the tour buses. He'd hire a tour bus and bring them around like Frank's local town, Trimbley, you know, some suburb in Manchester no one's ever heard of, like, unless you live there. And this is where I did this. This is where that, you know, people, can we go around and see your mum? I said, no. Just
in
brilliant.
The middle of it, he rings up John Ronson and asks him, will he do to write the essay about him, you know, that'll help him kind of get a bit more. And I'd say, you know, in fairness, John does, and it does get him back in the map. I think he gets to year 4, does he? And then actually he gets cancer.
Gets sick then.
Yeah, he gets throat cancer.
There's a brilliant bit where he's like, someone's interviewing him and says, what's been the highlight of your career, Frank? He says, Paul McCartney. That would have been my answer if I'd ever met him. And then he has this song, Death is Really Fantastic, and I hope I sell lots of records when I'm dead, like Elvis, because that's what happened. That's what happens. Death is really fantastic. It was in my head for the whole evening, so fucking like he knew the game was up, but no one else knew. No one else knew. None of the fans
did release
knew
a photo of Frank after having chemotherapy, and it's the Frank head with no hair.
Didn't even talk with the comic. He had done stuff with Oink, wasn't it?
Oink,
Comics.
yeah. And they were even saying like he put far too much effort into it. Everyone was just like kind of phoning it in. And he said you only get 85 quid plus VAT, but he was like, always holding it up late because he wanted to get it perfect. And it's hard.
He had these little codes, the little code thing around all the banners.
And no one could work it out. And eventually someone worked it out. And it was because they found his actual code in the back of his book. No one
I didn't write it down when it was. Yeah. I remember what it was. What was it? Why is my nose always itchy or something?
No, yeah, why does my nose hurt
why does my nose hurt?
Why does my nose hurt? Well, like at the gigs or something. Like, so, look, just stupid. Like, why does my nose always hurt? This was his big secret he had encoded.
Johnny Vegas gives him a great send-off. There's more of Ronson's involvement as well. When he dies and he's basically a pauper. He hasn't a fucking penny, and it's just I don't remember. They do say it in the thing. Is like if you have less than £200 or £300 or something, you're given a pauper's funeral. So which means the state pays for it, and no one wants that. Like no family wants that. People want to pay for their funeral. So Ronson puts out fundraiser tweet, GoFundMe or whatever, and I think within half an hour or something they had the money, and then it kept going and going.
After the one day, the 21 grand, and it keeps going. They did then a second funding thing to put a statue in his hometown, a bronze statue. Which is brilliant. So it's a bronze statue, but with a painted head of Frank. Loads of people.
Yeah, I was going to say Johnny Vegas is in it. I love Johnny Vegas. He's Johnny Vegas is a real emotional guy when he gets talking about.
But Johnny Vegas is also his stage name as well, isn't it? Like that's the character he plays on.
First you ruined Dave Ghrol, and now you ruined Johnny Vegas on me.
But it's the same as Vic Reeves. Vic Reeves is also a character, a stage name. But it's the same. I was devastated when I found that out. It was on Jonathan Dave's show, as yet untitled. And he's going, why is he calling him? Why is he not calling him Vic Reeves? And he goes, no, it's a character. Like same as Johnny Vegas is a character, which is kind of. I can understand.
But he doesn't play it.
No, it's very similar to that. It's really. It's just it helps with hate. He says so that if people hate him, they hate that guy, not me, because otherwise I couldn't deal with it. Yeah, because as you say, he's a very emotional man. Like he's very emotional. He said like on that what's it 9 out of 10 cats do countdown. Yeah. He reads out little bits of poetry and stuff, and he's crying at the end and stuff. They're beautiful, But he gives this. I served him pints one day. He came into the pub one day. He had gigs on. Yeah, he walked in. He was lovely. He just says he gives him a great send off. He's like, Frank's thing was like, just be fucking good at. Just be fucking good at what you're good at now, and don't worry about the finish line on X Factor. Which I thought was great. Very good.
Really, really good.
But also, maybe pay your tax and, pay your kids and
pay your phone bills.
And the phone bill occasionally. Because there's a story about there's a kids' party. It's one of their birthdays, and they're all come around to watch the telly. And halfway through the party, the bailiff arrives and takes the telly away. And the wife goes, he didn't really seem to care. He says, we don't need a telly. It's fine. Just didn't. That real life didn't interest him at all. Like, it just didn't register, and he didn't seem to be. So bizarre, but so I don't
blame him. I'd like to try that lifestyle for a week or two just to see what it's like. But
I'd be stressed out. Just absolutely stressed.
I would too, but man. I mean, I'd like to try it in a way that, like like you can go camping for a week or two and do like one of these challenges or whatever, like Bear Grylls or something. Do that for a couple of days.
So what exactly is this holiday? So what's included in this holiday? Well, you immediately get 35 grand in debt with the tax office. You live in a room with no
freedom.
Yes. But you have to wear this mask for the whole week.
You know that's not what I meant.
I know. I'm just being annoying for the sake of it. But so when I would suggest that you watch, if you're going to watch these, definitely watch the documentary first, and then take a bit of time and then watch the film later and see them as very separate things, because the film is good. It's just nothing to do with Frank. It's like if it had a different mask, he was called John, then it's a really good film for that. But it's just kind of. The documentary is really good as well. It's really well put together. Some great interviews, some great stories. Great. It's laid out well. The momentum, everything is fine, and it's like there's lots of stuff lots of really genuinely laugh out loud moments.
It's really funny, and it's obviously quite sad as well. But but at the end, like thanks to the crowdfunding, there is kind of a happy ending. Like he does get the send off he deserved, and getting the fucking bronze statue put up in Trimbley. That's fucking genius. It's like that's what a compliment, you know, because he's I like the way that you have it in Irish and British culture, that we do we give head the balls some notice, you know what I mean, and say right, you know what, you're fucking cool, you know, you're sound. And he did have great influence on people. He's just brilliant. I remember finding out he was dead, and I thought, fuck no, shit, because I loved him. I loved that telly show. I loved it because it's just like compared to like the normal chat shows you had at the time, like the Late Late shows in Ireland, and you had, what would you have had in England at the time during the 80s? Jeez, I don't remember actually. Oh, it would have been Parkinson. What's his name? Yeah. Parkinson's good, but it can be quite serious. Whereas
Terry
the Late is like
Terry Wogan, I suppose.
Terry Wogan, that's fucking Ireland's Uncle Tom, and fucking. He's dead. I can say what I want. Sort of dry kind of thing. Whereas like his is like. People come on and he'd start a fire and try and interview them. It's like, there's a fire. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's grand.
Legendary.
Yeah, just funny stuff.
Yeah, but do try and kind of find it. It's floating around online. I'm sure it's on some of the streaming things. Maybe isn't. I'm not sure. But it's definitely worth to watch. And I know it's not the kind of standard stuff that we do here, but I think it fits in because of the kind of artistic compulsion and the creative thing that he has. That whole thing is like, he's like the epitome of that whole, that trying to, and the DIY.
He was so talented. He was so fucking talented. Yeah. Anything he turned his hand to, he could do. He
just decided to do animation, and he makes an animation show, and that's not crap. You know what I mean? It's not crap. It's good.
He went down to before they make Bob the Builder, and was like, show us around.
For a few years. He just turns up and won't go away. Same thing. But they give him a job. But he does Bob the Builder for a few years, and then they kind of go, everyone agreed that he probably should leave.
I'd say, it must have been intense. Fucking must have been intense, but also great crack. God rest his soul, sure. No, but check the films out. They're great. Really, really good.
It's just so funny.
There's still stuff to laugh about when you think of it. It's just class. It's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
One of those documentaries that's going to live rent free in your head for years. You just find yourself, you'd be sitting on the bus one day and you just go, remember that.
Death is really fantastic.
So what would they call the Flashies? The Flash, what would they call it?
Freshies.
The Freshies. Are they on Spotify?
Yeah, they're on Spotify. There's
Frank recorded anything? Is any of his stuff?
Do you know what? I didn't look. I only looked at the Freshies. I wonder. There has to be Frank albums out and around somewhere. I can't imagine they're very good, but it's kind of thing you have to be there kind of thing, Anyway. So, we'll get out of here then, will we?
Bye!
Bye!